that we're seeing more in Washington State and California, et cetera. And we do expect that to continue. We think that we have a couple of cases here. We've got, I think there was a third case that was reported this morning through the Illinois Department of Public Health. Again, it's not widespread here. We're hoping it does not become widespread, but we are starting to prepare for everything that can come our way. What are the risk factors for getting a severe case of this? Because most of these coronaviruses most of the cases will actually be mild. The vast majority of those cases, probably 99%, will be mild. They'll consist of kind of flu-like symptoms. You can get a headache, you can get body aches, some cough, fever. It's oftentimes people who have some immunocompromise, who are elderly, that will get the worst symptoms. And oftentimes that happens after a certain period. It doesn't happen right away, but it can happen after about 7 days of having the virus. And those people can oftentimes get very ill quickly. Right now, the New England Journal of Medicine published something over the weekend about virulence in China, meaning how deadly is this virus. And the fatality rate that was reported there was about 1.4%. Influenza is the fatality rate for influenza in a typical year is about 0.1%. So it's about 14 times more virulent according to what they have down however, you have to remember that in China, the reporting is a little bit different than it is here. So it could be that there's a lot of patients that were out there who had this that didn't even present to a clinic, didn't report anything. So it could be that it's not as virulent as we expect. We just don't know the answers to that yet. I think it's probably safe to think that this is worse than influenza, but maybe not as bad as 2% or things like where it can be very, very deadly. 2% is actually quite deadly. So what do we do about something like this? The most important things are the things that you already know about, which is, cover your face with a tissue or with your sleeve if you're coughing or sneezing. Stay home if you're sick. Don't go to work when you're sick. Don't spread this around. You wouldn't want to spread influenza around. You certainly don't want to do this when, if it's something like this. So you want to stay home if you're sick. Most people can work from home nowadays. A lot of people can anyway. And so it's important that, for your employers, that they know that this can happen, and so that they actually say, make provisions for, working from home for a lot of their people. I know that that's not true for everybody, but it will help. Schools, we're going to be thinking about that. If outbreaks start to happen at schools, will we have to close schools? Sometimes that's actually a good thing during that period, because the incubation period is around 5 days, is about average. People are doing quarantines for about 2 weeks just to make sure that they kind of capture everything, and that they account for the overlap between the time you might acquire it and the time you'll spread it. Masks, you see people walking around throughout the world with masks on. This won't help you to not catch things. If you have it, would it help to not spread it? Yes, it would help that way. But most of these masks aren't being used that way, and they are being hoarded in a big way. And the typical surgical mask isn't going to really help much. And by the time you have that on for 20 minutes, it's pretty much useless. There are other kinds of masks which healthcare professionals are using called N95 masks, which are actually much more helpful. But those are they're almost unavailable now. And they're really being reserved more for healthcare workers. But those are the kinds of things. I mean, the frequent hand washing, the 20 seconds of washing your hands after you come in contact with somebody, staying home when you're sick, all those basic things that you know about, those are the most important things to do. And I can talk a little bit about Riverside and what we're doing. We have a preparedness plan that we've been working on for a couple of weeks now. We're making sure that we have our isolation rooms ready for those who do get sick, making sure that we have provisions for enough masks, making sure that we have enough personnel to work things, and then in the case where it would be even worse than we expect, to have other areas cordoned off so that we can make sure that we limit the spread as much as possible. I'd be happy to take any questions that you have at this point.
Does the weather have anything to do with it at all? I mean, did cold weather help or hurt, or the onset of warm weather going to help make it spread more?
We do think that the onset of warm weather will actually help. Warm weather for viruses of this nature tends to be actually something that helps out in terms of not being spread as easily. Cold, dry air is really what makes it spread a lot more than other things. So we do feel that it might get better with that.
Okay.
Other questions?
Anybody else?
Yes.
Some of our officers have asked about masks. You would recommend that first responders then use masks for an
If they're going to come in and they know that they're maybe exposed to somebody with fever and cough, and you have what's called an N95 mask, that might be helpful. It's probably more helpful that they put a surgical mask, which can be a regular surgical mask, on the patient, on the person. That would probably be much more helpful. Other things? I hope that was helpful.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
As far as Riverside's immediate care
Yeah.
just opened up, so if anybody's got symptoms of the flu, is that a place to go?
That is a place to go. And you will, sorry. One other quick thing about influenza, and the CDC has recommended this, sometimes people want to be tested for the flu when they go into one of these immediate cares, and we are actually discouraging that. And the reason for that is because in a time where you have a high prevalence, where a lot of influenza is being diagnosed and treated, those tests oftentimes are false negatives, meaning that they'll come back as negative when the person really has influenza. So if a person has influenza symptoms, fever, cough, muscle aches, we tell our immediate care nurse practitioners to treat them, to just treat them, and that actually is a better way of preventing spread and also of getting those people better faster.
So what do they treat them with?
Tamiflu is one of the medications that they use. That's really, there's Tamiflu and there's one other one out there. Tamiflu is the one that's paid for by insurance, is better. And so we use that. It's usually, for people who have normal kidney function, it's about 75 milligrams a day, twice a day actually, for 5 days.
And that's only by prescription?
That's only by prescription.
So these symptoms are obviously, similar to regular flu symptoms. Do you recommend people get flu shots just to try to avoid the flu?
We always do. We always think that the flu shot is the best way to prevent the flu. And even if you get the flu, it will make the flu generally less symptomatic. So you won't have as bad a flu even if you get the flu that's not covered by the shot. Generally, you have some immunity, which will allow it to be less toxic to you.
Any other questions?
On your immediate care, what are the hours over there?
It's a good question. I believe they're, I don't know. Carl, do you know?
They're noon to 8 or 8 to 8. I think they started at noon to 8, but I believe now they have switched to 8 to 8.
8 to 8?
12 hours, 8 in the morning.
Wow.
Thank goodness for Carl.
And I suspect that all that's online. I know that before this one was open, I know I've gone online and looked at waiting times at other places, and so I suspect now the Manteno one is online.
Correct. If you allow a brief commercial, if you download the Riverside app, that'll give you wait times to all our immediate cares, including the Manteno location.
Okay.
So it'll give you the hours, locations, and wait times.
Yeah, because the Walmart one is now closed, right? And everyone needs to.
Right, we have this one and the one at
Right.
Meyer.
At Myers too, okay.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I appreciate you coming up and spending a few minutes with us. Just, like I say, with all the stuff that's in the news, we just, we're hoping that there's people that watch this that will, if we could, avoid any of the people, from passing it on or getting sick, and being as educated as they can about the virus. I appreciate your time.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The only other item that I have is under the village president's report. There is a request for a fundraiser application form from the Manteno High School Band Boosters. They've completed the form and turned it in. It's a spare change fundraiser that they'll be doing, and they need approval from this board in order to conduct the fundraiser. So it's included in everyone's packet. Is there any questions? If not, I would accept a motion to approve the fundraiser by voice vote. Or motion by Phillips, second by
Aye.
Dole. All in favor signify by aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Village Administrator's report, Mr. LaRock.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have one item tonight. I want to remind residents that the Hometown Heroes banner program applications will only be taken through the end of this month. Right now, we have about 165 polls spoken for. Banners that will be going up. They go up in around Memorial Day, just before Memorial Day. They stay up until Veterans Day. It's been a huge program. Actually, from the original batch 2 years ago, we've had 111 of those people sign back up again for another 2-year program. So it continues to be very popular. Again, you can fill out an application, get it either online or at Village Hall. There is a $100 fee for that. And we'll be taking those applications till the end of March or until we run out of polls, whichever happens first. So,
Yeah, but after March, 30th or 31st, whenever the deadline is, if you call after that, it's, we won't be able to get the banners ordered. We have to order them in bulk in order to get the price, down and be able to get them in time and get them put up. So anytime, I say if people are interested, please do it now, because after that, they'll just start taking a wait list for the following year. So you'll be, you'll be a year behind. You won't be able to be up there for 2020. So.
that's all I have to see.
Thank you, Mr. LaRock. Committee reports, Public Works and Utilities, Mr. Boyce.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I got a couple items tonight. Resolution 1915, a resolution approving a professional service agreement with Robinson Engineering in connection with providing surveying and engineer service for the proposed First Street Parkway and light improvement. This is located over by the pub.
Yeah, we talked about this at our last Public Works meeting. Last year, we did the expansion of the parking lot on First Street, the decorative lighting, that half a block, and then across the street in front of the Shears hair salon. This year, we want to do the same thing, basically in reverse. In front of the pub area, we're going to be putting decorative concrete in the lighting, and then on the other side of the street, over by the Main Street Pharmacy, they're going to be putting an addition on with a drive-up window. So we need to do some change in the curbs, and we thought it was a good time to be able to get First Street all completed. So we'll have the decorative lighting on both sides of the street all the way from Main to Walnut, and this is the engineering for that purpose.
Look very nice when it's done.
Mm-hmm.
The other item I have is ordinance 1936, an ordinance authorizing the sale of personal property surplus equipment. This is our old stuff we use for the sound stage, and now we decided our equipment's getting very old, and it'd be nice if we can sub it out a little bit, right, Jimmy?
Correct. Yeah, the equipment's getting old. We've been working with a gentleman that's got all the sound equipment, so we've contracted through him to do the music on Main Street and help out.
And some of this equipment got damaged last year during the tornado too, or the storm that came through. It was in the trailer. The trailer had holes in it and it got wet. It's still operational, but we're afraid if we continue to use this for the rocking on Main Street that it's going to go down in the middle of one of the concerts. So and this is stuff that we bought used from Bill Cushman
Like years.
10 years, 15 years ago or something. So you're going to get or surplus this through eBay or what's?
We use this other company called Bittergy. We've had pretty good luck with them so far.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
That's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Boyce. Properties and Recreation, Mr. Martin.
I have one motion, a motion to authorize the village president to sign the renewal of the lease agreement between the Village of Manteno and Manteno Youth Baseball and Softball League. Chris?
Yeah, last year we put this together just so that there was a formal document in place. They've been using the park and they actually do all the maintenance on the baseball fields and softball fields over there. So we just wanted to have something in place so that as regimes change, they would be able to continue to use those facilities. So this is a renewal of that same lease. There was no language changes in the original contract, so This is just to give them another year's use of the facilities.
And then the only other thing I have, we have a change in date. It's March, we have our first Parks and Recreation meeting is going to be changed to Wednesday, 3/25 at 7 o'clock. It says Village Boardroom.
I'll have to look into that.
It's probably gonna be here.
There might be something going on
Oh.
tonight here, so we might have to be relocated. I'll double check with Darla on
But
that.
so it will be Wednesday, March 25th at 7 o'clock at the Village Boardroom. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Public Safety and Health, Mrs. Dole.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't have any action items on the agenda tonight. My next public safety meeting is March 11th at 7 a.m. at the Village Hall Conference Room, along with the Finance Committee. I want to have a couple safety tips. The Manteno Police Department has had several calls lately about door-to-door salesmen. Complaints have ranged from suspicious people in neighborhoods to overly aggressive and pushy salespeople. By law, the village cannot prevent people from selling door-to-door. However, the village does require salespeople to obtain a permit at the village hall in order to do backgrounds on them and to keep track of them in the event we receive complaints about their sales methods. The salespeople must carry and display the village permit or badge when they are working. Canvassers or people that are going door-to-door for political, religious, or other nonprofit purposes are not required to register or carry a badge. Neither, however, can enter out or remain on any property that has a sign stating "no peddlers" or "no solicitors" or similar wording. Permitted hours for canvassing activities, peddling activities, and soliciting activities are Monday through Saturday between the hours of 9 a.m. and 9 p.m., and Sunday between the hours of 12 noon and 9 p.m. The village does and has revoked permits for violations of this ordinance, such as fraud, misrepresentation, and being a public nuisance. If any resident has concerns about whether a person has a permit to go door-to-door in the village or has a complaint about an aggressive or misleading sales tactics, they can contact the police department at any time. Remember, this weekend is daylight savings time begins, and you will need to spring ahead by training your clocks an hour ahead when you go to bed Saturday night. And Chief Al, will you talk about the law enforcement torch puller plunge for Special Olympics, which is Saturday the 7th between 2 and 4 p.m. at the Manteno Sportsman's Club?
Yes, we're doing a fundraiser for Special Olympics. We do it every year. It's done all over the country. It's the polar plunge where groups of people jump into frozen lakes. Fortunately, this year it's not going to be frozen, so it'll be a little better. But it's a nice fundraiser. The police department has a group. I think some village employees are going to be with us. There's hundreds of people that jump in, so it's a good time. We actually do 3 fundraisers for Special Olympics. It's kind of the police's thing throughout the year. We do the polar plunge, cop on a rooftop at Dunkin' Donuts, and then the torch run in the summer. So it's a nice event. But, come on out and jump in.
Thanks. It's always a interesting time to see everybody's, what they wear and what they, yeah. So, that's from 2 to 4 at the Manteno Sportsman's Club. So, and that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Dole. Planning and Zoning Trustee Crockett is not here. The only thing that he has on his agenda is a change in the date for his Planning and Zoning Committee meeting, which has been changed to March 31st at 7 a.m. at the Village Hall Boardroom. And he also has a Planning Commission meeting scheduled for March 10th at 6 p.m. here in the Village Boardroom. And that is going to happen. There is things for the agenda, correct?
There's one agenda item, yes.
Okay, so March 10th at 6 p.m. here at the Village Boardroom. Finance, Mr. Geske also is not here. He's out of town. The only item that he had on his agenda is the payment of the bills. He has the payment of the bills of $138,100.43, which includes TIF bills of $15,000. And bills authorized and paid between the board cycle was $40,093.57. His next Finance Committee meeting is March 11th at 7 a.m. at the Village Hall Conference Room. General Government, Mr. Phillips, do you have anything tonight?
I have nothing tonight, Mayor.
Okay. So the items that we'll be voting on the consent agenda are as follows. Under old business, we have nothing. Under new business, we have Resolution 1915, which is a resolution approving a professional services agreement with Robinson Engineering in connection with providing surveying and engineering services for the proposed First Street Parkway and lighting. Item number 2 is a motion to authorize the village president to sign renewal of the lease agreement between the Village of Manteno and the Manteno Youth Baseball League. Item number 3 is ordinance 1936, is an ordinance authorizing the sale of personal property, the surplus municipal equipment. And finally, the payment of the bills in the amount of $138,100.43, which includes $15,000 of TIF 1 bills. Are there any items on the agenda that need to be removed? Seeing none, I'd accept a motion to take a single roll call vote on the question of passage of the agenda items as read. Motion by Martin,
Second.
second by Dole, roll call.
Martin?
Yes.
Dole?
Yes.
Boyce?
Yes.
Phillips?
Yes.
Motion carries. Accept a motion approved by unanimous vote, the orders, resolutions, motions, and orders contained in the consent agenda as read. Motion by Phillips,
A second.
second by Dole, roll call.
Phillips?
Yes.
Dole?
Yes.
Boyce?
Yes.
Martin?
Yes.
Motion carries. Comments? Do you have anything tonight, Mr. Boyce?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Martin?
Nope, nothing.
Mrs. Dole?
No, I appreciate Dr. Moss coming here and explaining some things and trying to give us more things to be diligent on and be better aware of what's going on in our surroundings. So,
Yeah, it's hard to get, I mean, if you, like I say, if you're seeing anything on TV or listening to the news at all or reading anything, I mean, the virus thing is all over. And like he said, I think I know that everybody's talking about the mask and, you know, that there's a shortage of them now, but the people that are sick are really the ones that need to be wearing them, not necessarily everybody else. So I appreciate him taking the time to come up and explain stuff to us tonight.
I agree.
Mr. Phillips?
I have nothing.
I'd accept the motion to adjourn.
Make that motion.
Motion by Dole, second by Boyce. Roll call.
Dole?
Yes.
Boyce?
Yes.
Martin?
Yes.
Phillips?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you very much for coming and for watching.